Hi, this is Ed Taylor with SEL. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to set up an SEL-2488 satellite synchronized network clock for use in a land mobile radio system. By the end of this video, you'll be able to configure user accounts for admin and engineer, assign an IP address to Ethernet 1 and enable HTTPS for remote access and configuration, and NTP for time synchronization of Ethernet-based devices or NTP clients. You'll be able to configure timecode outputs for PPS and add system contact information into the clock. So physically what that's going to look like is we'll have our PPS coming out these BNC connectors, T01 through T08. We'll have our 10 meg reference coming out these SMA connectors, F1 through F6, F1 being a square wave, F2 through F6 being sine waves. And we'll have our network connection doing HTTPS and NTP on Ethernet port number 1. All of the configuration for the 2488 is done via web browser to one of the Ethernet interfaces that's been enabled for HTTPS access. From default, ETH-F is the only port on the 2488 that is enabled for that type of access. Its default IP address is 192.168.1.2, and it has a captive port function, so it can serve out an IP address if your computer is DHCP enabled. So the first thing we need to do is grab an Ethernet cable and connect our computer network interface port to ETH-F on the 2488 clock. So I've got my laptop connected now to ETH-F, and I'm just going to jump into the Windows setting and set it up to automatically obtain an IP address from the 2488. So I'm going to press the Windows key. I'm going to type settings, and we'll click on the settings icon here. And then over here on the left-hand side, we'll click Network and Internet, and then we'll click Ethernet. So we can see here that we've got a couple Ethernet ports. This one is not connected, and this one is connected, but no internet, so this one's going to be our clock. I'm going to expand that, and I'm just going to jump down here to IP address assignment. I'm going to click on Edit, and I'm going to turn on automatic or DHCP mode, and I'm going to hit Save. Now, by doing that now, we're going to be asking the 2488 for an IP address. And it looks like we've got one now. We're in .3, and the 2488 is .2, so we should be able to communicate now with our web browser. Once that IP address gets issued, your default browser should open and take you to the default page for the 2488's captive portal, which is 192.168.1.2. If for some reason your browser didn't open, just open your browser and browse to this location. You're going to get a privacy or connection privacy alert, depending on your browser. It may look different than this one, but basically the reason this is happening is because the 2488 from default has a self-signed certificate. And you can jump into the 2488 installation manual and learn about certificates and certificate management. But for right now, the default is a self-signed certificate, and that's what we're going to go with. So we're going to click on Advanced, and we're going to click on Continue to 192.168.1.2. What we're seeing here is the device commissioning page. This is the first time anyone has connected into this 2488. So there is no default admin user account or password. So that's what you're going to choose now. So the first account that you're going to create is the admin account. So we want to make sure we keep track of this. Will be the only account in the 2488. And if we lose these credentials for any reason, you'll have to reset to default and do this process over again. So I'm going to type in an admin username of admin. I'm going to type in a password, and I'm going to click submit. And now that password has been added to the 2488, that user of admin. So I'm just going to go log in with that user now, username, and the password that I chose. This should bring us to the 2488's dashboard screen. And you'll see my 2488 actually has the GPS antenna plugged in. So I can see my GPS and satellite view. If you don't have your antenna plugged in, you're just not going to see a display here. But this is the dashboard page. And the first thing that we're going to do now is we're going to set up another user. So we're going to go to local users. And we're going to set up an engineering user. So we're going to say add a new user. And I'm just going to call this engineer, and the role is going to be engineer. And the difference between engineer and admin is that admin can actually add new users or remove them, and the engineering role cannot add or remove users. It can only make changes to their password and so forth. But the engineer has access to everything else, just as admin would, just no access to changing user accounts. So I'm going to give this one a password, and I'm going to hit submit. And now we have our 2 users entered into 2488, and we're ready to do some configuration. So the first thing we're going to configure is the IP interface ETH1. So we're going to come to IP configuration, and we'll give it a host name. I'm going to call mine site1 clock1. Choose a name that's appropriate. Then we're going to turn on Ethernet port number 1, give it an alias. I'm going to use LMR network. And we're going to give it an IP address, 172.29.1.120. That's going to be a /24 network. We're going to turn on HTTPS so that we can access this programming interface and configuration information via this network. And we're going to turn on our NTP server. So this is NTP client server. So when you get to your clients and it asks you what is the address of the NTP source, it's this address here. Now we're going to hit submit. If you needed to do a different type of NTP, like broadcast or multicast, once you have a port set up and enabled for NTP, you can just jump up here into the NTP settings, and you'll see there's choices to turn on multicast, broadcast, your intervals, and your multicast address. Jumping back to the IP configuration, we're ready to go. The last thing you may want to do is disable front panel access. I'm going to leave mine on because this is my lab system, but you may want to turn that off now that you've got access over ETH1. Next up in our configuration will be the time code outputs. Those are those BNC connectors. We're going to go here to time code output under time management, and we're going to set those up for PPS. Just from the drop-down list, I'm just going to turn all of mine on. You can do whatever is appropriate for you. And what this will do is enable those BNC ports to put out the PPS pulses. And we're going to click submit. Now, there aren't any programmable settings for your 10 meg oscillators. That's because the 10 meg oscillator board is only used for a 10 meg oscillator reference, whereas these timecode outputs, as you saw in some of the choices, can be used for iRig type timing, PPS, or KPPS. So this is the only configuration we need to do for the oscillators. And the last item that we'll configure today it's optional, it's informational, but it's under here System Global Settings. And we're going to put contact information for this device. I'm just going to go ahead and put my name in here with my phone number and the installation location. Okay, our configuration is complete. We can jump up to the dashboard and confirm all of our settings here. ETH1 is now green because it's enabled, and you'll see all of the information for Ethernet 1, including the alias, the IP address, and the fact that we've enabled HTTPS and NTP server. My ETH port is green because I left it enabled, but if you did uncheck that, then that port would be grayed out, and this information down here would be blanked out. The NTP LED is green because we've turned on NTP. Down on the left-hand side here, we've got our time code outputs. They're all set to PPS. In the middle here, we've got our device information, the host name we entered, contact, and location. And at the bottom here, there's the status of that 10 meg oscillator card, the frequency outputs, and they are okay. So this clock is ready to go into service. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you found the content useful.